we are going to focus on the writing paper, and there is a poll that we've got for you. I think it's a commonly asked question, frequently asked question, and it's, should I complete the writing paper in pencil? And I would like to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's yes, you should complete it in pencil, or is it no? Okay, Viola says no. The question is, should I complete the writing paper in pencil? Yes or no? Julio, hopefully you can see the poll popping up on your screen. Okay, Julio says with pen. Lilia says yes, yes, pencil. Maria says yes. Liz, yes. Mijale, sorry, apologies for my pronunciation. No. Okay. Well, I think I don't know. I cannot see the answers of the poll, but I think there is a majority of pencils. Maybe, I don't know. Well, in this case, the answer is pen. Okay. You need to complete the writing paper in pen. Okay, well, sorry. Now I can see the results of the polls. Thank you so much. And the majority was no. So it was only in the chat maybe where I saw a majority of yes. Right, fantastic. So you know it was a tricky question. Apologies, yes. So you need to write in pen, and you have 1 hour and 30 minutes to complete this writing paper. There is a compulsory task, okay, which is the essay, and there is in part 2 you can choose one task from a choice of 3. And the recommendation, the guidelines is that you write between 220 and 260 words, but please don't waste your time counting the words. We are going to correct everything, okay? It's just for your guidance, really, that we are including that reference there to the word count, but we're going to correct everything. We are going to mark everything. However, if you write fewer words, maybe you don't develop the ideas as you should. And if you go beyond 260, then maybe you start repeating words, adding irrelevant information, and then that may have both things, like not developing your ideas enough, or including irrelevant information, repeating information you have already mentioned, will have an effect on certain criteria of the assessment criteria. Then there was also a question about literary works. So books, I assume that you have to read for the exams. And there is no set text for C1 Advanced, right? So you don't need to read any specific books. And the option to write about the set text has been removed from B2 First for Schools and C2 Proficiency, right? So really, there's no specific book that needs to be read for our exams anymore. And if you want to have more information, please again scan the QR codes. Right. Another of the questions we got was about the different writing options and the advantages and disadvantages of choosing each of them. So I'm going to give you a couple of, maybe a minute or so, to read the key information about the different task types, and then we will discuss them. Okay, hopefully you've had enough time to go through the key information about the different text types. Well, and which one to choose, I think it's something very personal. It depends on your preference. It also depends maybe on your interests. So my recommendation would be that you have enough practice in all of them, and that you take on board your teacher's feedback, your classmates' feedback if you engage in peer assessment, and also your feelings, right? When you have when you're producing a letter or a review or a report or a proposal, and you take all that on board and when before making the decision. Also, what I would strongly recommend is that you are familiar and comfortable with more than one text type, because I think on the one hand, you need to think about the text type requirements and conventions and structure. And then on the other hand, you need to think about the topic being discussed. So if you are familiar and comfortable with the text type, but you are not familiar with the topic being discussed, then you maybe want to go for another option when you are comfortable with both. This is something that you need to decide and beforehand, okay, on the texts that you are better at, if you want. So you don't have to think that much in the day of the exam. So really, if you can keep like a portfolio, right, with the different text types that you have been writing, maybe not even only in C1, when in your preparation for C1, but when you were preparing for other levels as well, because some of the text types are the same for B2. So make sure you feel comfortable with more than one text type, you know how to write it, and then take that, bear that in mind when you are making the decision. Then let's continue with some more questions. You are clearly worried or interested about how to come up with ideas. Also, you're concerned with time, mistakes, and then vocabulary, okay, based on the questions that we got. And Well, here for the B2 first session, I shared some statistics, or well, some information based on what we find when we correct when we mark exams, and it's that candidates tend to do well in content despite what you feel. And I think that I agree with Donatella. Brainstorming is crucial, planning is crucial, and it's not time that is wasted at all. It is probably a way to save time later when you are in the writing process itself. So taking some minutes to plan, to think about the target reader, the purpose for writing, the different content points that you need to take into account, that you need to include, that you need to develop, is going to help you a lot in the next two stages. And in terms of ideas, if you look, we are going to look at the tasks, and you will realize that there is a lot of input in the tasks. They are designed in a way, we are giving you a lot of information already, so you can write about the different topics. But then also remember that we are not testing you on your ideas. We are trying to give you a mark for the language, for how you express, for how you communicate your ideas, right? So bear that in mind as well. So this first stage of brainstorming, selecting ideas, and organizing your ideas is key to save time later on and to do better as well. Because then if you have a clear plan of what is going on, the actual writing process will be much better. You will be able to have a very clear idea of what they are main ideas, and then support or examples. You will be also able to develop your ideas better, and you can also decide whether they are straightforward or complex ideas. Ideally, we will have a combination of both. And you can also think about how you are connecting your ideas and if the text is coherent. And then once you have finished, it's time for the reviewing stage, where you can check whether you have repeated maybe some structures or some words. If you can try and have more synonyms, if you can try and express your ideas in a different way, if you have been able to include less common vocabulary, if you have included some complex grammar. It is also an opportunity to go back to the task and check whether you have included all the content points, and if there are any mistakes, any error slips that you can spot. I mean, it's something that we would do in normal life. I think we would never send an email to apply for a job without reading it at least 3 or 4 times, right? So I think it's something that it's good practice in general. So let's look at the different tasks. Here we've got the essay, and we're going to talk a bit more about planning. And in order to plan, it's important that you understand how much information, how much input we are giving you, so you can take all this information into account before starting to write. So in the I've put it in different boxes here. Claudia says, go back maybe to, is it this slide? Claudia, is the same. It's the same information. We just have the different colors. Okay, so in the pink box, what we have is just very basic information about the topic. Okay, so it's an initial rubric giving us information about the topic, where the information has come from, and provides context. Okay, then in the second box, the blue one, there are 3 elements from the discussion which are provided, and you only need to choose 2. Then in the purple box, in the number 3, we've got different opinions that were shared, and you have the choice of either including them or not including them, but hopefully they will give you some ideas. And then in the orange box, we've got the instructions for you. Okay, so discuss 2 of the areas, expressing your own opinions and giving reasons to support them. Okay, so these are the how the information in the input is organized. And as you can see, there is a lot of information to start thinking about the topic. Then when we are thinking about the text type, the essay, what aspects do we need to take into account? Well, it's vital that we understand the purpose, that we understand why we are reading, and this is to highlight relevant issues of a discussion, to support our argument. We can discuss both sides if we want to. We can go for one if we want to. Important that we always include 2 content points. We can refer to the opinions, but using our own words. Remember that in our exams, paraphrasing, demonstrating the ability of expressing ideas in a different way is crucial. So we don't want you to be lifting words from the task, really. We want to see that you've got the flexibility to express the same information in a different way. And then, as I said, remember that there are 2 items that need to be discussed, not all 3. And then in terms of the organization of the essay, it's very important that it is well organized, that there is an introduction. We will be talking about that later on, a clear development, conclusion, and then in terms of the language, that we are showing our ability to use a variety of lexemes and grammar. Veronica, I'm not sure. I think I've included all the information in all the slides. I don't think I'm missing any of the paragraphs, but I will go back here. Anyway, this is in the handbook, okay? If you want to refer back to it. Right, and as I said, the introduction, having a good organization is very important, and usually the first and the last paragraphs are very important because they make the first impression, okay, and then they make the last impression, right? So they are very important paragraphs, and that's why I've selected an opening paragraph and a closing paragraph for you to have a look at and reflect. Okay, so if you can take a minute maybe to read the task and to read the first paragraph, then we will comment on it. Yes, Alejandro. I was on mute because I didn't want to bother you with any noises that I could make while I was drinking some water and to give you some peace and quiet time for you to read the paragraph. Okay, so I would like you to think about this first paragraph in terms of the communication, okay, the communicative achievement. So, right, what do you think? Is this a good, maybe it's a good first paragraph for this essay in terms of the communication of ideas? Um, Bearing in mind that it's kind of an introduction for what is coming next. Of course, we are going to look at something positive and then some things that maybe we can improve. Okay, so here you can see that it is the positive aspects, the strong points are that, well, the main elements of the argument are mentioned, okay? So they are introduced. And then it is also hinting at the idea that, you know, it's a complex topic. It's not something very straightforward, very simple. It is already hinting at the idea of journalists also being subjective. Okay, so these are the strong points. The aspect that we could maybe improve is the use of you. We can go for more neutral styles and maybe would be more suitable. Okay. This, if you want to here, you can scan the QR code to see the whole text and the mark it got for communicative achievement. It scored 3. Okay, so it's C1. And what the examiner comments say is that the conventions of the essay were used effectively to hold the reader's attention. I think we all feel we want to read more, that the writer has a clear stance on the topic, and that they understand that it's not a straightforward issue. Okay, so they are expressing complex ideas. So this is a good example of a C1 paragraph. Okay, bearing in mind that it's only a first paragraph. Then let's look at the final paragraph. Here, what we've got is a review, okay? It's not an essay. So again, I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to give you 1 minute to read the task and also the final paragraph. And again, thinking about the QR code there, thinking about the communication. Please let me know what you think. Okay, if it's a good final paragraph for a review. Okay, thank you for your comments. Here, I want to I want to remind you that we are thinking about the conventions of the task, okay, the way we communicate ideas, the ideas that we communicate, whether they are simple or complex. Well, here the feedback that we've got is that in terms of the conventions, the style is natural, it's confident, the writer is addressing the reader directly, okay, but if you want to turn away, right, so there we see how they are addressing the reader directly. There is also a clear summary of the recommendation. In terms of maybe the style, well, in conclusion, maybe a bit too formal for a review, would be more suitable for an essay. So maybe that's the only aspect that we could improve. In terms of the level, these scored 4 for communicative achievement. Again, if you want to refer to the full text, you can do it in the guide. But well, it is high C1, right? Of course, here we are looking at just one paragraph. We don't do that when we are marking the exams. We look at everything, but well, this is the feedback that you can take maybe on board, and maybe thinking more about the good aspects that make it a strong text at C1. We're going to continue looking at communicative achievements and the communication of straightforward and complex ideas, because it's not an easy concept to explain. This is actually taken from the B2 guide for writing, but I have included it here because it's a band 5, so actually it is showing C1 level. And here you can see, and I like it because it shows a nice combination of straightforward and complex ideas, right? So I find it quite useful to explain complex ideas which are abstract. They also cover a wider subject of wider subject area. So it means that you need to use more linguistic resources if you want to express these ideas. And then I also wanted to talk about organization a bit. In this case, we are showing a report. And this is mainly to reflect about the transition between B2 and C1. Right here, we have a C1 task, which has some positive aspects, as you can see, good use of a variety of linking words, of cohesive devices, right? But it's not good enough, okay? We need to do a bit more to reach the C1 level, okay? So at C1, we are looking for a text that is well organized, coherent, using a variety of cohesive devices and organizational patterns to make or produce good effect, okay? And here we see that there are some problems at times that is preventing us from having this good effect, and this is why it's not reaching the C1 level. So it's important that you understand. We are also going to talk about this in the speaking, this transition between C1, B2 and C1. Right, moving on with more questions coming from you about vocabulary and how to practice, where to practice vocab at high levels. We've got this resource, English vocabulary in use, where you can be sure that the level is at the vocabulary is at the right level. Okay, so you've got some theory, some practice, guided practice at the beginning, and then what I would say is just like try and use it when you are speaking and when you are writing. And I also wanted to say that the best way to practice vocabulary and to learn new vocabulary is by reading, okay, and reflecting on the different aspects that are included in knowing a word, right? So at these levels of ability, very high levels of ability, we're looking at a number of aspects when we say that we know what a word means and that we can use it. Okay, can we use it in the right context? Can we use its different forms? So please bear this in mind when you are reading and when you come across a word that you are not familiar with. And as I said, once you have had some maybe more guided practice, go on and use it, right? Try to rephrase, try to use synonyms, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Try to be ambitious and aim high. And then there was a question also about what we are looking for in the writing, right? Our assessment criteria. And I think we have mentioned most of them: content, communicative achievement, organization, and language. These assessment criteria are designed for examiners. I think that at C1, also if you are a teacher, you will be fine to use them. But in some cases, you may want to understand exactly what we mean by specific terminology. We have developed, or we have created the success criteria, which is an adaptation of the assessment criteria, but for students. And also in the teaching guides, you have an explanation of the different terminology, right? So please check it out. It's very, very, very useful because it also explains the vocabulary or the terminology or what to expect at the different levels of ability. So what do we mean? What is complex at B2? What is complex at C1? Complex vocabulary, complex grammar, what does it mean? And then, of course, if you want some guidelines for reviewing your texts when you are preparing for the exam, check out this checklist as well with some very straightforward questions for you to answer and reflect. And I don't want to finish this section, this writing section, without mentioning Write and Improve. It's a free tool that you can use and get instant feedback. So if you haven't tried it, give it a try. If you have tried it, let us know what your thoughts are.